Spoilers, do not click on this video if you're afraid of spoilers. This is a complete review of Berserk. There's spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, do not watch this video. Read Berserk, watch Berserk, do whatever, but do not watch this video until you've seen it. Now that that's all out of the way, I got a new mic since the last one sounded so awful. Hopefully this one is like a major improvement. I don't know what it sounds like. I just went straight into recording with it. You know, it wasn't an expensive mic, so this one might just turn out to be absolute trash. But I mean, here's amazing footage of a Japanese PS2 running the Japanese Berserk game, not at all being emulated at all, because who would do such an evil thing to our corporate overlords? You know, why, we should be paying $600 to play one game, you know? Alright, let's get started with the important stuff, I guess. Berserk. Probably one of the greatest things I've ever read or watched in just like in general, like in everything. The way the author ties everything together by the end of the arc, like it's just incredible. Like you oh man, that's you read or watch a different show and usually there's a character being left out, and they're kind of set on the back pedal and you just kind of forget about them and they don't really achieve anything in the arc. But it feels like in Berserk all these characters get something, or they do something, they have some part in it, and like it all just ties together. This is just one of the greatest things I've ever read. You know, it's a shame that the TikTok like goon squad got a hold of this and now they get tattoos of the Sacrifice brand on their neck and they don't even know what it means. You know, it's like they thought it was cool and then that's all it got. I mean, it is cool, but it's not. You're not cool because you don't know what the actual meaning is behind it. But whatever, that's a whole nother tangent. They'll probably be brought up again, maybe not, who knows. But let's actually get to the important stuff, I guess. It's just go with the arcs. You know, honestly, all of them are really good. I don't really like. I haven't really been into fandom. I haven't really looked at everybody else's opinion. But I can tell you now, I think they're all really good. I definitely have more I like. I there are some arcs where there are some characters that are near unbearable. You know, I can't remember her name, but Luca was looking after her the entire time in the Tower of Conviction arc, and Luca's looking at this curly-haired girl, and she obviously is protecting her, and she cares for her, and she just like goes off and joins the freaking witch cult. Nearly gets that dude killed, and then goes off to live a happy life or whatever. Constantly gives other people up. She probably died a couple weeks later after that anyway. But the arcs overall, I think it was like almost all great. I mean, the Black Swordsman's, I don't think it's the weakest. I think it's not the greatest introduction. I really liked it, but it feels like you can tell some things weren't planned till later on, which I don't really mind. But it's just not, it's not the best, way. It got it out there, and that's what counts. It got it out there, and the art's really good, and of course Guts is cool, though he can be really, I guess, angsty and edgy at times. I still think he's just a cool character in the Black Swordsman arc. And you can tell he has like a lot of like, I don't know. He obviously has internal conflict, but in the Black Swordsman arc, I think it feels a little bit different. He just seems scarred, in that arc, and he doesn't want anybody near him, and that is true for almost the entire thing. Wow. But the Black Swordsman arc, I did think it was good. For one, the Count was a really cool villain. His design, I don't think was really anything crazy. Like, I enjoyed it, and the panels were really well drawn, and I thought it was cool. But what makes the Count a cool character is that he's not just like super evil, crazy dude. That, I mean, he is super evil and crazy, but it goes to show that it's like there still can be some good in people even after they made a terribly wrong decision, and that's just really cool to me. I feel like that word's gonna be used a lot. You know, if I wasn't so lazy, I'd put a counter up in the corner of the screen. The cool counter, CC counter. But let's get to the bread and butter, I guess. The yummiest, juiciest part. Well, it ain't the juiciest part for me, but it's definitely the juiciest part for, I guess, all of television. Uh, Golden Age. The Golden Age is crazy, crazy, crazy good. It is, for me, that was my, oh, excuse me, that was my introduction to Berserk through the 1997 TV show, which that's also great. But that'll be saved for another time. Let's just get through the arcs first. Uh, the Golden Age was just like fantastic overall. The art just gets better as it goes on, and it improves, and you see these characters, and you obviously, like, you know, if you watch the show first, when you go to the manga, you know that there's something wrong. Okay, hold on. Let me lay this out first. The show has gotten so popular that there's no way to not know that Griffith is like the main villain. Well, you know, he's a part of the main goon squad in Berserk, and even though you know is definitely really cool and really good that's popular, it kind of sucks that you don't get that surprise. Now, I mean, you technically ain't gonna get it no matter what because of the Black Swordsman arc. But, like, you know, for me who watched, and probably a lot of others who watched the 1997 show first, you already know. Well, I guess you figured out in the first episode. They name drop Griffith like once, I think, but I don't think you ever see him in the first episode. Uh, but you can easily forget that or miss it if you're not paying attention. But I just wish that like you didn't. I wish I didn't know, because that would have absolutely destroyed me. The eclipse already destroyed me, but that would have doubly destroyed me, especially with the friendship that Guts and Griffith had. It, I just don't even. It's just, I don't know. I wish that wasn't spoiled, but anyway, boo boo. It's too late now. Uh, but Berserk, the Golden Age, is really good. I don't even know how to describe it because I'm not very good at describing how these people write these things, but the interactions between the characters and how they evolve is so freaking good. Like, they're not, like, the characters, I feel like, make rational decisions most of the time. You know, these characters, you know, they're not like ridiculous. And, you know, and let me get one of the books out that I can remember the author's name, Kitaro Miura. Uh, he just knows how to just like, I don't know how to describe it. He just knows how to get this thing to work so beautifully. It's, oh my gosh. More like, he knows that after you can only have a dark period for so long, and he gives you that, and it makes the lighter moments so much sweeter, and it makes you so happy to see these characters get a break for once in their lives. Like, you know, you have the whole thing, like this. What comes to mind for me is when after Griffith, or I almost got the name backwards, after Guts left the band of the Hawk, and you know Griffith gets captured, and he comes back after hanging out with the blacksmith and his granddaughter. Well, you know, not really his granddaughter, but still, you know, they go out and he makes out with Casca, and you know they kind of get through all that, and they just, for me, it's when they're at the castle and they're sneaking in, and Princess Charlotte is guiding them through. Like it's specifically when those two guards show up. I think it's right after that those guards show up, and then it's literally just, you know, like I think before all that, you know, they I don't know how to describe it. They weren't gonna act lovey dovey to each other, you know, Casca and Guts. But you know, I think at one point Casca started to grab hold of Guts' hand, and it's like, I don't know, like they were kind of, they were going kind of back and forth there. But I just thought that was really sweet and heartwarming, and it was just super cool to see that. Too bad it was ripped away from us. We'll never get to see that again, clearly, because for anybody who's actually, oh yeah, this is spoilers. You know, for everybody who's read the 40-second volume, you know, we never get anything happy, I guess. Or really anything past 40. I'm guessing, I think 40 is when Casca has her memories put back together. But it's just like, I mean, I don't even know. It's just so, the Golden Age tears you apart in all the right ways. I'll put it like that. I'll put it like that. Golden Age tears you apart in all the exact ways, the right ways, because you grow about the characters. You love these characters. You know, I'm gonna name drop a lot of characters. Judo, freaking Rickert, the freaking goat, Pippin the goat. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting that one guy's name. I can't believe, I don't know how I'm forgetting his name. Like it's on the tip of my tongue. Freaking I can't believe I forgot his name. That's actually crazy. Like I'm gonna remember him in like 10 or 20 minutes, and I'll be like, oh freak, now you know that's who he was. You know, it was the annoying guy that hated Guts. Well, he didn't hate Guts, but he sure didn't act like it. But but the Golden Age is just really good. I You know, I wish I took notes before this and I wrote down what scenes I specifically want to talk about, because I'm just winging it, you know, like always. You know, I'm just kind of putting it in there and just letting it go on. But there's so many good scenes, and Kentaro Miura just knows. I don't know how he does this, how he knows when to switch it up like this. That way you don't get tired of this dark and broody kind of theme, but you're not, you know, but it's not so light that you're like, wow, what is this, a little freaking kiddie show? No, it feels real, but it's dark fantasy. It's real dark fantasy. Like, oh my gosh, it's so freaking good. Anyways, time to stop the glaze on the Golden Age arc. Even though it is really good, it's not my personal favorite. Now I know, I guess Lost Children arc. This one was also really good. That, you know, I think it feels different from the Black Swordsman arc, because now, of course, you know all of Guts' backstory, and now you know why he's like this, and you know, and now it's like you're just teleported back, and you're like, wow, now we know what he's like carrying, and it adds to the weight of what he's, you know, it's like the weight of that he's swinging his sword with. But this is one of my favorites. I don't know if I put it above Golden Age, but it's definitely a close. I'm gonna put Golden Age second. This is that third. It's gonna be a close third. Even though it's a really short kind of arc, I don't know. I really like it. Uh, it's just, it's sad, but it's also like heartwarming in some scenes, and I like that Puck is back. There's another character I haven't mentioned yet. Puck is a great character. I wish he gets focused on more in later arcs, but we'll talk about it later. But I like that Guts and Puck are kind of jokey with each other. More like Puck bothers Guts most of the time, and when really Guts wants to get rid of him. But you know, they still kind of joke around with each other, because these wounds are still fresh to Guts. Well, not fresh, but you know, it's in his mind. He'll never forget him. He's scarred. You know, it's not gonna leave him ever, unless Costco's there, I guess. Which, you know, I guess we'll never get that. But yeah, and I am sour about that. I will keep mentioning that. I'm sour about that. I never thought I'd support a relationship so much, and yet I know that I will it'll be forever before we get it if we do get it. But uh, man, there's so much good stuff about the Lost Children arc because I should have reread. I can't believe I just said that. I should have reread some of these volumes just so I kind of know what I want to say. Like how with like the fight between Guts and the Moth Woman was super cool. I liked how he used the egg sacs, and I like how even though, of course, at this point in time, Guts, he acts like he doesn't care, but he does kind of, but he does care. You see him put out a fire or douse the one girl in egg juices and blood, uh, just to heal him. Well, sorry, I was looking at the freaking gameplay to keep her from catching fire because you lit all their little egg things on fire. I just wish that there wasn't so much sympathy. I feel like for the girl, like it's definitely sad, or not the girl, but the moth girl. Like it's definitely sad with the way the she was abused, but at the same time, now she's luring children away, and they're being converted to these little moth fairy elf creatures, and they're killing each other in these woods, which I think is like freaking crazy. Hold on, my computer just said it's almost out of freaking memory. That's kind of crazy. All right, delay's over. Uh, I don't really know why the computer said. I don't know. It says run out of memory. I don't know. I guess we'll just see what happens. Uh, but I was wondering what it was showing something weird there for a second, but it looks like it's okay. Uh, but back to Berserk, which I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, she still was killing these kids, which is also sad. And it also forced Guts to technically kill kids. Even though they're not really kids anymore now, they're like little elf monsters. Uh, that's another thing I'm gonna include here real quick. I like that some of the characters aren't like basic fantasy creatures. I like you wouldn't expect some of these like you would think the elves would be fairies, but they're not. They're elves. You know what I mean? And I think that just adds a little bit of difference to it, and it makes you, and even the monsters and stuff. I don't know. It's like the world feels like it's its own separate dimension, and it's just cool. I don't know how to describe it. It's just awesome the way it's set up. Uh, but the ending of the arc was super sweet. Once again, we have like all this dark stuff with hints of goody stuff in here, and then at the end it's just super. Well, I wouldn't say super warm, but that girl was following Guts. She doesn't want to go back home to her abusive family, and you know and Guts is like, oh, really? Look around me. This is what's around me. This isn't your battle. Hold on. I have the quote as my wallpaper. There's no paradise for you to escape to. And man, just his quotes that he spoke to her were so good because he also just mentions, she, he tells her this ain't her battle to fight. Your battle is the one at home, and not to go with him. Oh my gosh, that was just such a good part. Just the whole thing was epic. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words because I think the Lost Children arc was so good. Uh, but let's just move on from that one, I guess. This is personally my least favorite arc coming up now, the Tower of Conviction. This arc I feel like drags on. Like for me, I'm not a fan of the prostitutes. I've seen some people online like go fiending over Luca, which I think Luca's a cool character, and I can definitely understand the situation going on because of how the Holy See has kind of overthrown everything and has kind of become this major religion in the world, and they've kind of screwed things over in a way. And these people are dying of the plague, and they're kind of getting put up in there, and they're being slaughtered for heretics when they're not. Uh, and then my least favorite character, also in the whole freaking thing, is in this arc, the curly-haired freaking the curly-haired woman. That was strictly unbearable. I really did not like her. I mean, I don't even know because she would say something and you'd be like, oh, well, maybe she's improving. And then she take 10 steps back. And then it's like, oh, we're back here again. Like, between the Lost Children arc and this arc, you already met Lady Farnese. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but her character arc is so. We'll talk about this more later on. It's so much better than hers. Like I feel like those two characters could be compared for like how messed up they are, and then you see Lady Farnese rides up on top, and then she just drops to the freaking bottom. This curly haired girl. I need to drink some water before my throat gets dry. Um, but that's not saying there isn't any like anything good about this arc. I think it's a great arc, but like for me, I wasn't crazy about the religious leaders and stuff. I can't. I knew his name. I'm forgetting his name, but freaking stone face guy. I wasn't really crazy about him. I thought he was more annoying more than anything. I don't know. It's like how in One Piece, Oda writes such like annoying characters that you want to punch in the face so bad. This is the stone face guy, like his whole little entourage, because they're just torturing and killing people, and for what? They're just doing it. They're calling them heretics, and for what? I really don't understand their train of thought at all. They're actually crazy villains, and I share no remorse, especially because he pretty much tricked them all at the end and nearly got Casca burned on the freaking stake. So, you know, I, I don't know. I didn't mind Isidro. Isidro's kind of annoying, but I get that he kind of reminds me of Guts, I guess, when he was a kid, except a little bit more like outward. I feel like Guts was a lot more self-reserved. He didn't want people near him or touching him, of course, after what happened with Donovan. How can I remember his name, but I can't remember some of these other characters' names? But the point is that I don't know that this is my least favorite arc. Uh, and oh yeah, that curly girl. She had one job: watch Casca. She freaking failed. She nearly caused that one guy to die. After she's literally risking their lives and her own life to go dance around a drug-filled freaking cult that these guys are like accusing them of being. They're accusing them of being heretics. They're not heretics. Then they proceed to form a heretic circle. It's like we're trying to die. Why are we trying to die? I don't want to die. Why are they trying to die? But I don't know. I could rant on about her character forever because I just exclusively don't like her. Uh, but I ought to just ignore her. But aside from that, you know, Skull Knight shows up again, freaking Dark Horseman. Uh, he was cool as always. Oro farming like always. Looking up from cliffs. It's really the same exact angle you see him every time. It's always the downward angle up at his like freaking jawline, like he's freaking mogging everybody in Berserk. But I don't even know. He is a cool character though. I just wish we could have known a little bit more. Now, nothing's been directly tied, but I'm pretty sure we can pretty much guess who exactly he is. That he's the old king of the city beneath. I'm forgetting the city's name. I'm forgetting everybody's freaking name. Midland, the city that Midland was built upon. And then of course later on in the other arc, for the fairy island, uh, you see he used to have a lover and she passed away. But that's not the point. Uh, I thought that was really sweet too, like and really sad, especially just because they. Okay, I gotta save it. I gotta save that for that arc. But Power Conviction, my least favorite arc of all of them. I still think it was good, but Curly Hair Girl just ruins it for me. Fernese was annoying too, but like I didn't really mind her. And I guess there are little mini things in between too, where like Guts gets captured by the Holy Iron Chain Knights. I could mention that, which I did, but not really much to go over. Like I don't know, it's just introduction of characters, and it kind of shows where they're at, which is cool. But let's go ahead and move on to the arc after that. And the next, hold on, actually, I know I just said those little in between scenes don't matter, but this one does to me. Uh, when Guts, now that he has Casa, he goes, if I remember right, he goes back to the blacksmith, and he's passed away, I believe. The goat passed away, and of course they run into Griffith, and Rick realizes the truth, which is super cool. Seeing, I don't know, it's sad, but it's cool seeing him now know what happened. Oh my gosh, Rickard's the goat, but we'll save that for later on too. Oh my gosh, I'm already at 25 minutes, and I haven't even really gone through much of it. All right, time to speed up. Can't go over everything. Like one, try to think how to put it. Is the chapters right after that where Guts leaves again, but he takes Casca with him this time. Because I can't remember if Puck mentioned Fairyland or whatever, freaking Windhelm or whatever it was called. But I just thought that super cool. I mean, really, genuinely, because Guts is kind of like you see his inner monologue a bit more, and it's not like he's still angry and frustrated, but it's a little bit more depressing. I feel like because he's like he talked about before, like I'm gonna reword what he said because I can't remember exactly what he said, but he's like before when I swung my sword, I wasn't really too worried because it's like if I fail I die, it's just me dying. But now I'm worried, I got Casca here with me that I'm worrying about. I can't lose Casca, and I don't know, those chapters right there and some of the scenes, I don't know, they were just so good. And I guess it's at this point we really see the little evil dog. He's always been there, but the evil inward dog Guts. I mean, he nearly makes him do some stuff to Casca, which I thought that was. I wouldn't say it's like I don't know how to put it. It's out of character, but it's not out of character. Like Guts would never do that, but with all the trauma that's happened, and whatever, like I mean, he's literally being chased around by demons. So I mean, he obviously has something going on there. Uh, so I mean, it's funny I mentioned those chapters because I think this is where the game kind of does this stuff. Because it's actually one of these scenes in those chapters I think where Puck, he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll watch you while you sleep," and then Puck falls asleep, and Gus is like, "I knew I shouldn't have left it. I shouldn't have left it up to you." Anyway, that dog looks weird in the fire on the screen, but those are some of my favorite chapters. In terms of just overall, those are probably those were probably were my favorite chapters. In terms of like the mood and the kind of theme it set, but the next arc is really good too. I'm trying to think of his name. Oh, also, oh man, freaking Casca's demon baby. I don't really know if it's like Guts and Casca's child that got infected by Griffith, or okay, I take that back. I do think that's what it is after thinking about it a bit more. And it's just sad because I did think it died. I figured it would come back, but it died technically right there. Yeah, as Griffith got reborn. I don't know, Griffith. Man, he makes me so mad because there's nobody gets anything happy with him around. How these people always get affected whenever he does anything. It's just unfair. But oh my gosh. But the next, I don't know, this one of my favorites. I really like this whole next arc where they meet Shirke and the witch in the woods. I thought that was really cool. I'm glad we're kind of getting into more of the magic kind of area of the whole world. Like I feel like that it's like a whole nother realm of this kind of dark fantasy that we just haven't even dove into yet until we got here. We saw these huge glimpses of like, the Baelid and what, summoning the freaking God Hand, and you get all this stuff, and it's cool, and it's super cool seeing this. But now they explain how it works, and it's got these systems, and it's just like, wow, like this is awesome. And, by now, of course, Guts has joined, has some friends watching him now with Ferneze, Serpico, and Isidro. And now he has them going to protect the village from the trolls. Well, I thought that was pretty cool. And especially, it kind of explains also how the Holy See kind of ruined everything. Well, it didn't ruin everything, but they definitely caused a lot of damage to these kind of towns and what they've done, which I can tell you now is going to be revealed later on, that there's some kind of thing going on behind them, some kind of plan going on. It's coming, and I know it is. But let's try and speed run through the rest of these arcs because I'm almost out of time here. Uh, Arc super good. I really like Shirkei's character. My eyes started watering a little bit when her master died and she was there crying. I was like, oh man, I feel bad for her. I don't know what I would do if I was in her shoes. Uh, and I like that she kind of has like, I don't know. I don't. It feels a little bit weird for her to have a crush on Guts, but I guess it's just like, she's like what 12, 13, so I guess just like a teenage girl crush, kind of like how teenage girls were into like boy bands back in the 2000s. One Direction, yeah, just like freaking out over these boy bands. But I don't know, that was cool. The whole arc was cool, and you get to see the Berserker armor finally come out, which was also super awesome. I mean, I don't even know what to say. This arc is really one of my favorites. I think it's super good, and I'm kind of surprised. Like I said, I haven't been much in a fandom, but I feel like from the parts I've seen, I've barely seen people talk about it. Anyway, let's move on. Now they go into the city, and I mean, there's just a whole bunch of stuff that happens there. And I thought this was really cool for Ferneze and Serpico's character, because the entire time you can tell Serpico kind of he I don't know how to describe. He's happy to see Ferneze kind of come out of her shell, but he's worried for her safety, and I think he's kind of jealous because Guts did something, and he didn't intentionally do it, of course, but he's like some change that he was never able to do for her before. And I don't know, her character past the Tower Conviction gets so good. Ferneze's cool, Serpico's cool, and now we get to see more of their family and how that works out. And she's like, oh well, blah 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 blah. I can't. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Give us boat, but I guess I'm gonna stay here. Ferneze. And I think it's like Guts and Serpico fights again. Oh my gosh, there's so many good scenes in there. And then Guts has that big fight with Guts and Serpico has that big fight with a part of that shaman. Well, I don't know if he counts as a shaman or not. It wasn't the shaman, but it was one of the leaders from the invading army. I keep thinking Cuban, from Kingdom Come Deliverance. I know the name's similar, but I don't think it's Cuban. Or unless I'm wrong and it really is the same thing. I can't remember. But they had a fight with that old dude, which is super cool. And then then the leader of the army shows up, which Guts tanks friggin' lightning bolts, which I think gives him a whole nother like power scaling feat, I guess. I thought that was kind of crazy, especially when he stopped the mast of that like ship or whatever from falling on him. That I don't know how heavy that was, but that was pretty crazy. But that arc was really good. I'm telling you, after the Tower Conviction, I feel like the rest of it is really Golden Age once again. Because the Golden Age was really good. Then there's Tower Conviction, which was boring. It wasn't boring, but I just didn't like it very much. Everything else was Golden Age again. Then they leave on the boat, which this arc's really good. But sadly, there's more annoying characters. The pirates. The pirates are extremely annoying. They keep coming back. They are not funny. I thought they were kind of funny when I first saw them because it's like, oh, literal pirates. Alright, I'm back. I had some stuff I needed to do. This is a day later. I'm doing this video again. I listened to the last minute or so of the what I was talking about. I think I was talking about the arc or whatever, where they're on the boat. Which well, let's see, talking about the pirates. Which like I said, they're funny, they were interesting, and then they were not. They kept coming back up, coming back up. Oh, we'll beat you. We're pirates. We're strong. Yeah, no, like no, you're cliche. You're boring. I don't want to deal with you. It especially when that arc. I think them on the boat, the whole time of them being on the boat I thought was interesting because you learn more about the magic. You see Fernese learning magic from Shirke or Shirky, however you pronounce it. That was a very interesting part of the whole thing, especially when she like goes and like does her like projection or astral body or whatever. Like that was cool. Uh, and I don't know. Like I said earlier, I really like how the shift focus from like battle tactics to uh, magic, which of course there still are battle tactics, of course, throughout the whole thing. Especially because throughout the entirety of these arcs, you've seen Griffith and his kind of plannings and ideas that he's had so far, which I thought was pretty cool. It was kind of like at times it was kind of a chore because we all hate Griffith, and I don't really like a lot of the characters at his side. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're interesting characters, but like I don't really like them. Kind of like that little girl that like prophesied that uh, a Griffith was coming during after he was reborn and such. And she keeps coming back, and she's jealous of Princess Charlotte, and she does stuff. I feel bad for Princess Charlotte the most because she literally just is pretty much manipulated. I mean, she really thinks Griffith is the good guy, which I guess to all of them. Which this cool, that was stutter. This is an interesting part of it though, that Griffith looks like a good guy to them, which is like insanely good writing. I feel like Guts to the outward world, especially to the Holy See, is like this evil bad guy, and then of course Griffith to a lot of the people of Midland, he's the hero that saved him, and now he has this new kingdom, uh, Millennium Falcon, whatever friggin' name it was, uh, which I thought was super cool. That kingdom looked freaking awesome. Uh, but I don't know. It's just interesting to see. Like he's made so much progress, I guess, on what he wants, but at the same time, what he's done, and it's like, it makes you wonder. Like, there's still so many missing details that you kind of want to know what's going on with that whole thing. Like now you have your kingdom, now you have the princess. So I mean, technically, you are the king now. Well, not officially yet, but you're pretty much there. Uh, then you really start to wonder. It's like it says my video's about to run out. 38 minutes and 46 seconds. Uh-oh. I better wrap this up quickly then. But the boat arc was cool. The whole seeing Griffith's whole story is cool, especially because kind of wraps into each other with the baby child that he infected, Guts and Casca's child. Rest in peace. Uh, all right, I ran out of footage of the game. I couldn't find anything else, so we're just gonna have to deal with some PNGs and stuff from the manga. Which the artwork, of course, is always good as always. But like, I don't even know where to start off from where I was. Uh, of course, that child was turned out to be Griffith, or a part of it was Griffith, and I think that the child, that we see, uh, is mostly it is their child, but it's also been infected with Griffith. And on those nights, which is interesting too, because Griffith is like a magical being at this point, but yet on nights with the full moon or whatever it was, where magic's supposed to be its strongest, they can't uh they can't beat it, like they can't get past it. Now, you know what I mean? Like the child still shows up while he's dreaming. So well, I guess he does it maybe while he ain't looking, but it still is kind of like, huh? If he was able to do that, then what else can they do? But the whole boat arc was really good. the island. I was so happy when they finally got to the island, and you get to go into Casca's memories, and they were so good. That honestly might be my favorite part. That whole thing. It's just, I don't know. It's just so warm, and after all that struggle, you finally get something. Until the most recent volume, of course, where everything goes to crap, uh, and Guts is losing the will to fight or to live. Really, Casca has been kidnapped by Griffith, and obviously she knows what has happened, and now she has, she's trying to figure this out, which of course I know they released the next volume in Japan. It hasn't got an official English translation yet, but I mean, I don't know, this whole arc is just really good. It might actually be my favorite, like I said before, uh, just because it feels kind of like if there's a payoff, even though there's bad stuff that happens at the end, and everything goes to crap, there's still payoff about it. And I want to mention this too because I forgot about Rickard for a part here. Rickard's the GOAT. Rickard's probably one of the best characters there, especially because he literally just shows up. And, well, he goes to talk with Griffith, and of course, the entire time you're worried, you're like stressed out. You're like, oh goodness, please don't die, Rickard. Please nothing happen to Rickard. You don't deserve that. And instead, he confronts Griffith and even give him a slap. Like, oh man, good job for you, Rickard. Man, you're such a bro. Like there's no, he's just such a goat. Even though he's not like strong, like physically strong like Guts, he's very smart. You see he has all these weapons he come up with, and he's even kind of like a blacksmith at some point now. Well, not at some point. We all know when it happened. When he started working with, I'm forgetting his name again. I forget everybody's name. Uh, I'm thinking Gudo. Pretty sure I'm wrong, and then that might be some other character's name that I also pronounced wrong. But it's just like, it's like, what in the world? It's like, man, Rickard, you're so cool. But enough glazing Rickard. Let's get on with the last part of this arc, where the whole fairy island collapses. I thought some of that, I like it, and of course it stings, but I thought it was weird because it's been a while since I read it. The leader of them, the elf woman, she basically just dipped. She was like, "Oh, it appears our time to leave is here," and then she left and left everybody else there. And it's just like, I know that she probably had some kind of thing. It's like, "Oh, I know they won't die," but it's like, you know, you left them here on this collapsing island, uh, and I mean that's really, you know, you just ditched him. And I can also see future character development for Isidro, hopefully, because I don't mind him, but I don't really like him right now. Like he's just chill, Like I don't care that he's there. He's been helpful, but now the Marrow girl pretty much got freaking evaporated and got taken with the elf leader. And man, this that's it. I want to mention too, the art for this volume is still really good. It is still, it's obviously different from Miura's, but it's still really good in comparison. But as you tell, I stop a lot between words because I lose track of what I'm saying. Well, not exactly. I don't lose track of what I'm saying, but I just don't know what exactly to say next about the arc. I don't have anything written down. I'm winging it. I'm going off what I think of. I know I've missed a bunch of stuff, that I haven't really gone over, especially like a lot of the important details. I just kind of want to give an overall opinion about it. But like when Guts swing his sword at Griffith, and all you see is like during one of the strikes, he cuts like a little bit of hair. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I can see why Guts is reacting so like horribly to that, because at the same time, I was too. I was like, are you serious? Like, don't get me wrong, I knew Griffith was powerful and he had some kind of thing up his sleeve, but like, I mean, this is insane. Like, it seems like Guts is like actually swinging at him, but he's not doing it. It's just, I just hope Griffith gets what's coming to him. I don't want the people of Midland to suffer. But man, if it's what has to be done, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people of business. This is the way it is. But kind of like I mentioned before, it's just trying to think. It's just so good. This whole thing's been such a good read. Really, I should have, instead of making one long video, I should have reread through the volumes and then made of each separate, which I might do maybe, just so I can really go into detail about it. Which I wouldn't care to reread it anyway, because it's just a masterpiece. I mean, completely. But I mean, now I got glazed some of the TV shows and such. Oh well, let me get rating. This is probably like a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. In terms of just everything. Berserk, in terms of the manga, is just like a masterpiece, and I can't believe how well they've explored the depths of these characters and their decisions. None of them feel unrealistic. They feel like real people in real situations, despite the unreal setting. It's very interesting. But let's move on to the TV shows. Right now, I have some 1997 footage playing because I literally had nothing else to put up on here, and I didn't want to download any more PNGs of the manga. So we're looking at the still frame of the king for a solid 10 seconds. But the 1997 show was the first thing that introduced me to Berk. I said Berk. Freak, the beam's getting to me now. Berserk. And I thought that was really good. It's really good, and it's a really good introduction overall. They do skip over a lot of the like more magical parts in comparison to the manga. Like when they rescue Griffith, the king sends multiple bands of that serves under him to attack him. Like he sent the Cumans or whatever to attack them in the sewers, which that's a shame that got taken out because that was super cool. Then you had the whole fight with Dogface, whatever his name was. He's super evil. I hated his guts. He kind of dragged on as a character in the manga. I'm kind of happy they didn't include him because he just, earlier we were talking about the sensitive graping subject. It feels like it goes to another step with him. He really pointed it out because we literally just got introduced to this nice family that's helping them escape with Griffith, and now I'm trying to think of how to put it. Now they're literally dead, and their daughter got raped and I think maybe decapitated too. I mean, it's just horrid with that whole section. Well, I thought it was really cool how, of course, Griffith was trying to help Guts during parts of the fight. But this show is really good. I really like this older animation style. And I think the English dub voice acting is really good. I have not heard the Japanese, so I don't know what that's like. But I think for the 90s, this show is really good. And I just wish they had a continuation of this and they kept going. Also, for the first episode, I can't believe they changed it that much with from the manga, which I can see why, because they literally didn't include almost anything magical, unless they had to with Zod and the eclipse. But overall, super goated, super epic. But this ain't as good as the manga, of course, but it's definitely if you were to go into Berserk and you don't want to immediately read the manga, you want to kind of dip your toes in the water, I would definitely advise watching the 97 show. Well, let's move on to the 2016 and 2017 Berserk, which I'm not going to spend too much time on because it is really awful. There's literally snippets of actual animation in the show that make you go like, wow, this looks good. And then it goes back 3D animation and the big clunking sound of Guts' sword, and it's like, wow, this is awful. And the only thing that kept me watching is just because it's like a part of the story of Berserk, and I still like the characters, and I wanted to see. Now at the time, I really didn't like Fernese. Fernese got annoying really quickly, but now that I've seen her character kind of more fleshed out in the manga, and the manga includes scenes too for Fernese that make her character better. Now I can't remember which particular one it was, but I feel like the show doesn't do her character justice. these scenes that didn't get included, I feel like, you know, like they took liberties on this show too, with not including some scenes. Like they skipped over the Lost Children arc and went straight into the Tower of Conviction, which I was wondering how they beat Guts, because she just kind of like, he got like a piece of wood at his side or something, or Serpico threw something and something happened, but like in the show it just didn't seem to make sense, because it was like, oh, this Guts seems in perfectly good shape. There's no way he can lose against these guys. In the manga, it makes sense. He just finished that fight with the Moth Woman, and he's pretty injured. He can't. He's not strong enough to fight against all these guys now. Uh, but in the show they take liberties like that, or like they have him fighting a lot of uhs and ums, but they have him fight another apostle in that manner. I don't really like it when they deviate from the manga for no reason. It's like they could have cut out that whole section of episode, and kind of have that episode split in half, and spend whatever extra timing you have for the last episode into something more, or putting little detail into more scenes with that extra time. You know, like it could have been better. You know, and I've read online about how this company never worked with 3D animation before. At least I think that's how it was. And they kind of got it thrown in their hands. Maybe it was the director, or something about the director, maybe. But I would not advise watching the 2016-2017 Berserk show. But I will advise watching the movies that came out for him, the Memorial Edition movies, which in my opinion, I don't think they're as good as the 97 show still, but I think it still looks great. I like that some of the English dub voice actors from 97 came back to do the the newer movies. I thought that was actually super cool. Uh, but of course, once again, the movies kind of just redo the 97 show with a little bit of differences here and there. Some of the dialogue's different. Uh, and I feel like when they change dialogue like that, the scene kind of changes its meaning too, or at least the way I interpreted it. But those movies were great. The animation, they definitely did a lot better than the 2016-2017, because the parts that really needed to be animated, they actually animated it, and actually put detail into it. And then the big battles that would have been difficult to use 3D, which still didn't look very good, but at least it kind of did something. It did better than the last show. Or like, in the first movie they have a scene where they kind of animated Guts' face. Before he meets Spanda the Hawk. It's when he's collecting his money, I think. His face is animated onto his 3D body, which is interesting. It looked kind of off and weird, but I thought it was a really cool technique that they used to get by their limitations. But I think the movies are still really good, and you could probably watch the movies instead of the 97 show, but I think the 97 show would be better overall, just because I feel like you get more of an in-depth look at it. And the soundtrack too. Okay, I think the soundtrack for 97 in the movies is great. Was not a big fan of the 2016 Berserk soundtrack. I didn't really think that was anything special. It didn't really I don't know, it didn't really sound all that like. There were certainly times where I was like, oh wow, this actually is kind of nice. I think they had some kind of outro that sounded nice, but then I was really bad at it. Uh, Unlike 97 and 97 show in the movies, which has soundtracks that have both been added to my playlist because they sounded so good. These songs are for gym activities. I'm telling you, when you're out doing cardio or something, or you're lifting weights, this will get you hyped up. And it's just like Blood and Guts, and you got Griffith's theme. You got all these good soundtracks. I'm really glad they brought somebody in that can write such good music in general. It was great. But there really ain't too much more to ramble on now. I know I skipped over a lot of details. Uh, I've been making this video for like the last couple of days, just because like I've redone sections, uh, just because I didn't really like how random it was, or I didn't like the sound quality on it. I did get a new mic, I'm pretty sure this sounds just as awful as the last one, maybe. I haven't really listened to it. I don't really want to listen to it. But if you're still here and you watch this entire video, thank you. Put down your comments what you think of Berserk. What's your opinion on it? Because for me, I thought it was great. I mean, it's just goated. This is, for me. Okay, one last tangent. For me, as I'm growing up, there are certain shows that really stick with me that I've watched, and it's like, wow, Berserk's one of them. Berserk is like another highlight. It's like another part of my anime watching experience, and my life just exploded right here. Like when I first watched ReZero back in high school, I was blown away by it. I thought it was so good. I still think it's amazing. And this is like, other shows have certainly gotten me hyped, but this is the first time since then that I've really like loved the way they've written these characters. Because ReZero kind of did something similar, but like characters feel realistic in an unrealistic situation. It's this dark fantasy world, and they're able to come up with this stuff, and these characters don't make the same decisions as they would, because now they've been fed different information. It's like, wow, it's like, this is so cool. Or like, this is definitely really different than these two shows. Clannad was one of the big animes I watched when I was really young that I thought was super good, and it still is super good. I think the animation's pretty good. I think it's funny, and these characters feel realistic. That I feel like that's a common theme. These characters feel real. You're not making dumb, they don't make unrealistic dumb decisions, which I mean they do at times, but it's not like ridiculous that they would choose that if they're in a high stress, high tense situation, But let's. I better stop yapping because I could probably sit here for forever and talk about this. But hey, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like and comment, subscribe. Let me know if y'all want anything more. I'm talking as if I got subscribers. That's funny. But just post your opinions down in the comments. If you want anything more about Berserk, I'm happy to play the game and post about it. And I could talk over the video, or I can just do live commentary as I'm playing the game. I got a couple more videos coming. I'm really addicted to that game right now. It's so good. I just finished the part. Well, I'm not going to say anything. I also wouldn't mind doing commentary on that if so desired. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope y'all have a great day. See ya.